Hey everybody, it's the Las Vegas Poker Coach. Good to be back with you. Hey, before we go any further, could you please do me a favor? Click the like or subscribe in whatever player you're listening this to. It really helps us grow. It really helps me, be encouraged, keep on putting out these episodes for you. So I appreciate you doing that. So it looks like masks at the poker table has come up as a hot topic this week. I'm doing this in early February of 2024. And, you gotta love Twitter. I love Twitter because it still remains the most, reliable place to get poker news straight from the source. Not Facebook, not TikTok, not really any social media. For some reason, Twitter poker has really kind of stood the test of time. So I really love seeing all of the, really the direct attacks go back and forth. Because there's plenty of players on there that go back and forth. And then there's a lot of commentary, so on and so forth. So obviously there's been a flare-up about masks in this week. And I think that's, it's been an interesting discussion. So before I give my take on this, I want to make sure that I mention I do respect both players. I like both of them a lot. No one plays tournaments better than Phil Hellmuth. I also met him one time at the Poker Ghost Studios when they were filming something, and that was, he was a really nice guy. He's a very tall guy, by the way. I've also seen him around the Win Poker Room, at least the old version of the Win Poker Room, because I know he does like corporate events and appearances, and he was doing something there. So really nice guy, really like him a lot. Really deserves the respect he gets. Ike Haxton, what a grinder. He's been around for a very long time. Obviously a guy who just truly just loves the game. I mean, the game is part of his core, right? He's just one of those people. So, gotta respect anyone who loves the game like that. If I was thinking to myself, I think Ike is one of the first players ever to kind of make moving to other countries for poker a thing. He was one of the first guys to do that. I believe he did it for tax reasons, not because of of legal or Black Friday reasons. But I mean, he was one of the first guys who ever said, "Hey, I'm going to make a run at this, and I'm going to go to the best country I can for that." So, he's been doing that for a very long time. Way before Black Friday. So, he's just somebody who loves the game and has made the game his life. So I really respect that. So when it comes to thinking about this whole thing about masks at the poker table, I want you to consider the source a little bit. Because note that I said that Phil Hellmuth is going to go down as one of the best that he is one of the best tournament players out there. And he really is, right? That record's undeniable. But he's probably not going to go down as the greatest player of all time. And one of the reasons, now you could argue, he's an okay, mixed games player. I've heard those arguments, but he's not going to go down as the best player because he doesn't have an online record, right? Phil Hellmuth is not an online player. That's never really been his strength. Now, that's not a knock on him. Playing online is very hard. And I think that, if you were to have a greatest player ever debate, it has to be somebody who has both a live and an online and a mixed games record, right? Phil Hellmuth will always have that void of not being a good online player. Plus, if we're being honest, he's also kind of connected to Ultimate Bet, and that's really the only site he ever affiliated himself with. And that didn't go well. So, he kind of doesn't, he's not an online guy. He's not an online player. If you've seen some of the other interviews that he's done for I believe there's an interview out there he did for the BBC. He's really a live player because he's good at reading people. I remember he's done this, again, I believe it was for the BBC where he invited a reporter to tell him 10 statements and Phil could tell which of the statements were lies. So he relies a lot on reading people, and he's very much a live player that way, and that's an incredible skill, by the way. So yeah, masks create an inherent disadvantage to him. So that's why I say I want you to consider the source on this, because this may be a topic that really only matters to Phil. It creates a disadvantage because he's so good at reading people, and he's not good at that same analysis that online players are able to go to so quickly, right? That's why online players are so good, because they analyze things so quickly. Phil Hellmuth doesn't quite have that per se. So I think that masks at the table are completely fine. It makes sense from a public health perspective. If you care about your health, or if you care about the health of the people around you, because you can bring viruses home to your family or whatnot, then please, by all means, wear a mask. I think it's very healthy for all of us to do that. On top of that, if you do wear a mask, and I think this is where Phil Hellmuth's thinking should maybe steer a little, is that if you do wear a mask, it can create a little bit of a physical tell. Some of the masks that are close to your mouth, I've noticed, because I wear masks sometimes at the table, can mimic your breathing patterns. And if you're running a bluff, or you're running a big bet of some kind, your breathing does tend to get heavier, and the mask in front of you can tend to amplify that, right? It can tend to kind of, pulse back and forth with your breathing, because you're going to tend to do a little bit more breathing through your mouth than you are through your nose. Or sometimes maybe if you're wearing glasses, an increased amount of breath can also cause an increased amount of fogginess in your glasses or whatnot. So that can also be a physical tell. So those have been my observations when I wear a mask. I will still wear one in situations where maybe I'm new to an environment, or maybe during flu season. Right now it's February, so this is the middle of flu season. So I might still wear one, but I'm very much aware that it can also cause a little bit of a tell on my part. Now, I don't think anything of what I just said is the case for somebody like Ike, because he does tend to wear a little bit of a stiffer mask, one of the N95 masks that tend to be a little bit more like a cup around your mouth than they are like a paper across your mouth. So I think that those masks you don't run the risk of giving something away as much with those masks. But overall, if you want to wear one, I think it's good for everyone's health. But just be aware that it can be a little bit of a physical thing. So I hope you've liked this episode. I hope that you track people on Twitter, because it's really fun to see, the pattern that some of these players have, and you never know what you can pick up. Lots of interesting players on Twitter. So hope to see you online there. I'm on Twitter at LV Poker Coach. Send me a DM, send me a connection. Love to hear from you. Hey, let's keep the conversation going. You can reach me on all socials at LV Poker Coach, all one word, on Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube.